What's the most bizarre / awkward gift you've received in your life? Wrote about this before, but at a birthday party in front of my family, my GF at the time gave me an illustrated journal of every time we saw each other from the first date till current, about 6 MOs. Included movie ticket stubs from our first date, the receipt from Chipotle from our second date, so she must have been planning this stuff for a while. Then it got graphically awkward. Pages dedicated to us having woohoo had smiley face stickers, days where we had fights, had frowny face ones. One memorable entry was a page written in large text we tried to have woohoo, but you couldn't, and all the while, she's sitting next to me beaming, like I've just been given a winning lottery ticket. Meanwhile the discomfort from my family was painful. For an awkward gift, not me but, when my brother was in the throes of puberty, my parents got him a basket of breath mints, tongue scraper, mouthwash, strong smelling soaps and loofahs. Multiple kind of deodorants with a helpful hint that you can use more than one at a time. Lots of new socks and boxers. Deodorized shoe inserts. He got the hint and was not pleased. Bless them, I mean they really tried. I'm not sure there's any way to tell your pubescent child they stink without them being a little bothered. It didn't help that they gave it to him in front of the rest of the family, though. Thankfully my mother did this with me in private. She's extremely blunt, yet still tactful, and she pulled me aside after school one day and told me, honey, I'm so proud of how mature you're becoming, but I want you to know that with maturity comes some body changes, and that includes BO. And she explained proper deodorant use and lady part hygiene, while simultaneously handing me a stick of secret deodorant and a bar of Dove soap. I don't remember being offended at all, but I do remember immediately popping the top on the deodorant to sniff and see if I liked it, and then asking if I could put some on. I wouldn't necessarily call it either of those, but it was somewhat strange in how random it was. I was working in a pre-surgery clinic. This older gentleman came in, and we were having a normal conversation while I did his vitals. Just before I told him to return to the waiting room, he asked me what year I was born. Not thinking much of it, I told him, and he pulled out this big white binder and started flipping through the pages. After a few seconds, he pulled out a page and gave it to me. It was a collection of various coins from around the world, dated with the year I was born. I think it was bizarre in the sense of how random his act of kindness was, and I certainly wasn't expecting to be given a part of a coin collection as a thank you. I still have it and think about it a lot. After breaking up with an ex and moving out, I had to cut all contact with her completely. About a month later, I came home from work with a migraine. So there I was, minding my own business, when the doorbell starts ringing. I'm not expecting anyone, so just decide to ignore it. It continues unabated for a couple of minutes, so I get ready to go downstairs and tell whoever it is to make like a tree. On opening my front door, I hear a voice coming up through the letterbox. Piss poor planning. I know you're there. I know you're ignoring me. I just want to give you your Christmas present. Yeah, no, not happening. I close the front door, turn the doorbell off, and go to bed. I wake up a couple of hours later and decide I'd best go down to check she hasn't damaged anything. Upon reaching the front door, I find a crushed but fully wrapped present that's been forced through the litter box. I won't lie, I felt guilty right up until I picked it up, that is. It was very light, too light even. On closer inspection, it turned out to be an empty chocolate orange box. To this day I believe that backquote present was a decoy to get into my home. What her intentions were next, I don't know, but I doubt they were good. There are many, all of them from my grandma. Her gifts are both feared and revered. One that comes to mind is a bag of combs. My grandma is a retired hairdresser. She is also one to save everything. During my horribly awkward teenage years, I'd begun using product to style my hair in an attempt to look cool. Grandma took notice and gifted me a plastic freezer bag absolutely stuffed with about 30 or 40 used combs and partially used hairstyling products that she'd saved from her salon over the years. Most of the combs were sticky and festooned with a few decades worth of stray hairs. One container of hair product was so old that its contents had actually dried to dust and blew away into the breeze when I opened it. Grandma, well, you're just so into your looks these days. I thought you could put those to use. I can't remember what birthday I got this gift on, but I was a kid, and I got a pair of inexplicably bright orange pants, the super skinny but elastic type. I have never been known for wearing anything flashy, let alone skinny jeans, and I'm a guy and the jeans were clearly meant for a more feminine physique. It was a weird gift to receive. Especially for me, because this did not fit any part of my taste at all. I wasn't salty or anything, I still accepted it, but I just never wore it. Not a single time. I think I ended up giving it away at some point, but I still wonder why someone felt that would be the ideal gift for me. I had a girlfriend in college whose family's house I visited for Christmas one year. This was the first Christmas we had spent together, but we had been together almost a year at that point, and I had already met the family and been to their home for other family gatherings, so it wasn't all first meeting awkwardness or anything like that. I had apparently become familiar enough to the family that her grandmother, who I had only met once previously, got me a gift as well. An unexpected surprise for sure, made only ever so slightly awkward. However, when as she handed it to me she said, most merrily, "Merry Christmas, Ken. I know you like video games, you have to buy your own batteries for this." Okay, first off, my name is not Ken, but it's kind of close in a monosyllabic way, I guess. So I immediately wrote that off. Secondly, what she handed me was an unwrapped but still in its tattered box handled slot machine game that required 2 AAA batteries. The game was purchased at a yard sale, a fact made evident by the handwritten $1 sticker that was still affixed to it. I sincerely appreciated the thought that she even remembered my existence, if even she didn't know my actual name, or what a video game was, for that matter, and her granddaughter, and I had a hearty chuckle about the whole scenario when we were alone later on, and I will always remember it for being the most bizarrely awkward gift I've ever received. Oh my goodness, reading your story reminded me of one similar, but in reverse, lol. This would be back in the early 1980s. Was dating a guy in high school, had met his family before, was going to a Christmas celebration at their house. So I brought something to give them for a family gift. They seemed surprised. I wasn't expecting anything back. But they went to the back of the tree and pulled out a little present for me. Opened it. It was a small basket of bath and body products and was very thankful, but quietly had noticed a tag that had a different female name. Oh my goodness, they gave me a gift meant for someone else and it was tagged. I felt so embarrassed. Looking back, it wasn't anything to get embarrassed about, but I guess I was afraid that they would notice that I noticed a different name on it or something. Overall it just felt very awkward, lol. My high school boyfriend went to a steakhouse with his parents and thought I might like the steak knives, so he asked the waitress if he could keep them. I broke up with a guy in my 20s and kept asking him to give me back a portrait a friend had done of me. It was always clear it was mine, and I was just letting him borrow it. For 3 years he didn't give it back. Then for some bizarre reason we started dating again and again I asked him for it back. Then he gave it to me for Christmas a few months later, rather than get me a gift. Another year he got me a kit to make him sushi. Yes, to make it for him. Surprisingly enough that second relationship didn't go well either. He always told me I gave him the most thoughtful gifts and he always gave me random things. It wasn't about the gifts, it was a symptom of how he just didn't invest much time or thought into me. I was raised mostly by my well-off grandparents' whose idea of love was a shower of gifts at Christmas. It was awesome, don't get me wrong, but eventually all the little trinkets and things I'd use once and forget became old. It felt like they were trying to buy my love with them. It was quite an abusive household at times, so when I got away from them and spent my first Christmas with my dad, stepmom and sister, we only got each other one gift each, and it was great. It was about family, not stuff. Well, sure enough my grandma sent a big box full of random stuff that was more than everything else we all got combined. I remember seeing the look on my dad's face, because he thought that was my expectation, but honestly I hated it. I didn't want all that useless crap, I just wanted to be with my family. It made me feel awkward as hell. I always hated that. Where I live there is a big present culture, people expect presents even as adults. but every time I have a party of Christmas or a day or something I always make sure to write your present will be your presents. Don't bring anything or something along those lines. Like I don't want some crappy $15 gift that I won't use. It is useless. Get me something good that I'll use, or nothing. And 99% of the time, nothing is probably better from most people, just because I don't care about gifts really. But then also I always bring gifts even when told not to. Mostly this is in the form of food, such as cookies or other dessert for the party.